Joining me now is the director, Spike Lee. Mr. Lee, welcome to Meet the Press.
First time I meet the press.
First time?
Ever. Ever.
Well, let's hope this is not the last time.
Well, thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. So, you chose to model this after a Greek tragedy. That in itself...
Strata, written 411 BC by the great Greek playwright Aristophanes.
That in itself is, to me, a statement about what you're describing about life in Chicago.
Well, there's two Chicagos. This, as Sam Jackson's character says in this film, Samuel L. Jackson, it's a tale of two cities. So you have downtown Chicago, which is thriving. While we were filming this summer, you had the NFL draft,
right.
the Grateful Dead last 5 or 6 concerts, I don't remember, and Lollapalooza. So you couldn't get a hotel room, reservation at a restaurant. You couldn't even get in the bar. Now, the south and west side of Chicago,
right.
That's another universe, and that's where this film takes place.
So the title, Chi-Raq, you didn't come up with it.
No, local Chicago rappers came with that.
Right, and there's some local activists don't like that you're using the name because they're worried you're glorifying it, that this is a... What do you say to that criticism?
Well, I didn't come up with the title, and also the first person to publicly speak about it was Mayor Rahm Emanuel, told me he didn't like it. He never said, Spike, don't make the film.
Right.
But he said the title was going to hurt economic development and tourism.
And what did you say to that?
I put more value in human lives. That's me. And I just told you Roger Goodell's not going to want to make too many more mistakes. He's not having an NFL draft in Chicago. People can get shot up. It's two different Chicagos.
Who's the audience for this movie?
Everybody.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
I say everybody. You know why?
Why?
Because I get asked many times. I've been making films since 1986, and when you do press for the film, the one question the filmmakers always can get: what is the takeaway? What do you want people thinking come out of the theater? Usually I say I'm not answering that question.
You just took one of my questions.
Usually I say I don't answer that question, but I'm jettisoning for this film. I want people to think about guns. That's the takeaway for this film. 88 Americans die every day due to gun violence. That adds up to 32,000 per year. And that is not just the hood, it's not just Chiraq, it's not just Philadelphia, or Baltimore, Maryland, or where I'm from, Bucktown, Brooklyn, New York, or the Bronx, or the South Side, South Central LA. It affects rural areas, it affects everybody.
It seems, though, you're trying to send a message to Black America with this movie. This is not,
I
no?
disagree. I
Okay.
disagree. I think that guns, what I just said, guns affect everybody, and not just in the hood.
But you seem to be sending the message that it's going to take Black Americans to stop this. Don't rely on, this is not about public policy, it's not about, it seems as if, take control of this.
Well, I wouldn't go far to say that, but I do think that I wanted to speak in this film upon black violence. That it's not always policemen. You know, it wasn't a cop that executed Tyshawn Lee, the 9-year-old boy who was lured into the alleyway in Chicago, South Side. So I think that, to me, the complexion, the color of the trigger figure does not matter to me. If you kill somebody, you kill somebody, no matter who you are.
When you make a movie, you spend a lot of time studying, trying to figure this out. Why is Chicago in much more worse shape? Things are better. I grew up in Miami. Things are better in Overtown.
Right.
South Central LA isn't what South Central was 25 years ago. I'm not saying everything
you know what? One thing, though, you gotta leave it. Crack was a big part of all this stuff, but the crack epidemic is hopefully
finally. But
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we've gone through Southeast Washington, D.C. All of
D.C., Dodge City.
Right. These areas are not what they were 25 years ago. Yet here we are with Chicago. What did you say you still can't figure it out? Why?
Everybody asks. I mean, no one has one answer. I've asked, the spiritual advisor of this film is the great Michael Flager. He can't give me a definitive answer. I mean, I think part of it has to do with that Chicago is America's biggest segregated city. And I think that has to do a lot with it. And people are just thrown to one side in town and left their own devices.
It's a segregated city that's always had robust African-American leadership that has tried
who after Harold Washington?
Well, but also community leaders.
Right.
You've had, I mean, this isn't multiple African-American U.S. senators. Jesse Jackson with Rainbow Coalition. My point is, and yet,
I'm not get up here on my first appearance, meet the press, and give you an answer.
I understand.
I don't know what it is. I've been trying to find out. But the fact remains, there's something wrong there. But
so what are the ways to fix it?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, though. What's happening in Chicago is happening in Brooklyn, Philadelphia. Again, I named these urban areas, Houston, Atlanta, but it's on such a different scale in Chicago.
Yeah, there's one neighborhood that has a higher murder rate than Honduras.
New York City has 3 times the population of Chicago. Chicago has more homicides. But if you really broke it down further, the homicides in Chicago are not happening throughout all Chicago. So if you subtracted the population from downtown Chicago and just kept it to the south and west side, that proportion would even be higher.
Just by calling it Chi-Raq, you're saying it's a war zone. Did you feel like it was a war zone when you were walking these neighborhoods?
No, because the police were all around us. But my first day of pre-production, I had to go to a funeral because one of my guys got shot down and murdered. The first day of pre-production, I was at a funeral. And while we were filming, and I said this before, excuse me if it's redundant, people heard me talk on this film. June 1st was the first day of filming. July 9th was the last day. During that time, 331 people got wounded and shot, 65 got murdered. From June 1st to July 9th. And it's escalated since then.
Why do you think there isn't this sense of outrage about what's happening in Chicago? Are we numb?
It's not Sandy Hook.
Is it numb?
It's not Sandy Hook.
But we get outraged when there's an event, when there's one big event, whether it's in Charleston, Sandy Hook, San Bernardino. This is every day. Why don't we have this same? Why do you feel like there's not this same? Is it us in the media? Is it the politicians? Who is it?
I mean, Obama said it himself. You know, people are numb. He said he's tired of giving these speeches after every mass shooting. And that's why I said the takeaway, I hope people take away from this film is guns.
And what is that takeaway? What does that mean? You say guns. What does that mean?
We have to do something.
Cut them back. We've got to get rid of this culture. We got to do what?
There's many different things. The gun culture, which is interwoven to us as Americans. I think that there's very simple things that we can do that aren't infringing upon people's Second Amendment rights. Tougher background checks. Father Flager's been talking about this many times with this title, Guns Like Cars. Why are we okay with that 88 Americans die every day due to gun violence? Why are we okay with that?
And that's what you want out of this movie?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit in the movie. One of the most powerful political rants is John Cusack's character.
Can I use different terminology?
Fair enough.
Let's say sermon/eulogy.
It was a sermon. Yeah, that's fair.
And that John Cusack's character is based upon Father Michael Flager.
And it's interesting that you wanted to have white actor John Cusack do it. Why?
It's based upon Father Flager.
Okay. That was the only reason?
Yes.
Wasn't about sending in any other?
No, it's based upon a real-life living saint, Father Michael Flager, who's been at St. Sabina Church on the South Side, Roman Catholic priest for 40 years, who's at the forefront of everything positive that he's trying to change. You know, he's just a great guy. And he was the spiritual advisor consultant on this. That's his credit in the film. Have you ever met Father Flager?
I have not met him.
Please do.
Sounds like I should.
No, he's a great guy.
Jennifer Hudson certainly has her own history in Chicago.
Yes, and if I could just say this real quick. I know I want take all your questions.
That's all right.
But I've been accused of, because of satire, people have accused me of making light of the tragedy, the horror, the murders in Chicago. But why would Jennifer Hudson be part of a movie that did all that, and she had her mother, brother, and nephew murdered? Why would the women of Purpose Over Pain, an organization of women who don't want to belong to because it's an organization of women
who have lost
children.
Right.
Fifth, in the final scene.
Those are the real mothers.
Fifth, in the final scene of the film, America, 54 women who are members of Purpose Over Pain are holding up pictures of their children that were murdered, sons and daughters. Why would they be in part of a film that made fun of their children were murdered? Why would they do that? They wouldn't.
So you feel like you've been pretty sensitive to all of this?
Oh yes, and they've come to me. I mean, that last scene, everybody was crying. Yeah. Nick, Angela Bassett, Jennifer. I mean, it was very emotional. I mean, those aren't actors. They're holding up pictures of their sons and daughters that got shot down, murdered on the streets of Chicago.
One of the big premise of this, and it comes from the Greek tragedy, is the sex strike.
Right.
You made a comment on Colbert that Ta-Nehisi Coates took issue with. I don't know if you've read his criticism. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I don't know if you read his criticism, which is sort of, he calls it the myth of the sex strike. And he said, because you talked about maybe women ought to go on a sex strike to protest sexual assaults on campus.
No, I was very specific. I said college. I said college. The question, here's the thing. People always leave stuff out. I was asked, could you see it possibly working today? I said, for me, it could possibly work on a college or university campus where there was a rampant case of women being sexually harassed and raped. And, you know, college campus, university has big cases of sexual harassment and rape.
Well, his pushback on that is this. He says, the sex strike solution holds that there is something in the behavior of women that might alter the calculus of predators. And his argument is, these are predators. This isn't about that, and that somehow it's in the fault of the women.
So that's okay. So all this for 2-hour film. That's your one criticism of the film. Come on, brother. Please, we're trying to save lives here. Please, that's me. That's again.
This is
that's another distraction. This is a come on a TV show. You know, is trying to make a joke and asking a question, and that's what the film comes down to. Come on. There's so many other things this film's about.
I heard you answer a question about the Black Lives Matter movement, and it was interesting what you had to say. It was, you were talking about its success, and then you were like, but. And there seemed to be, I didn't know if you were critiquing on a generational grounds. What would be your advice to the Black Lives Matter movement?
I think they should keep doing it. They're doing a great job. I mean, I was out here protesting behind Eric Gardner. I took my son to Mike Brown's funeral. We were in the first pew facing the casket. But for me, trying to be the best person I be, a moral person, I cannot just scream, cops are killing us, they're shooting us down the streets, and then we have cases like Tyshawn Lee. I'm like,
don't put blinders on.
I can't do it.
Right.
I'm not saying they're doing it, I'm saying I can't do it. Like, it goes back to my earlier statement.
So you want to see Black Lives Matter to protesting black on black violence, too.
It goes to my earlier statement, is that I don't care what color or complexion the trigger figure is. We had that scene in the film where Samuel Jackson, as Dolomites, has a Chicago cop on one side and a gangbanger on the other side.
It seems, when we go back to trying to figure out why Chicago, why is it worse here than everywhere else? Obviously, Chicago's in the middle of now a federal investigation about how its police force is run.
The feds are in town.
So, you can't help but wonder, how much does that play a role? The distrust of cops in the community. The community clams up. They're afraid to talk to the police because maybe they fear the police. I mean, is this the cycle here? Fear the police, not talking to the police, keeps your mouth shut, nobody speaks out on what's happening. Is this what's going on here?
I think you have something there, because we're trying all across the United States of America, police departments are trying to find a better way to deal with the community.
Right.
And what people have yet to understand, when that Laquan McDonald tape was released, that affected police departments all across the United States, not just in Chicago. So that just widened the gulf. Right. That just made the community distrust police departments even more.
And it seems to be a two-way street. Director of the FBI says that he thinks police officers are now more cautious, and he thinks worried that they're too cautious. What do you say to that?
Sir, I was just upset with the NY police cop, the guy shot down, murdered in Harlem, as I am with what I saw Mike Brown, what I saw Laquan. Now I saw this new tape in San Francisco.
Another one.
I don't understand. You got numerous cops in a circle. Where's the guy gonna run to? Why did he have to be killed? And this, I think, excuse me if I'm wrong, if cops feel they're being threatened, they're 2 shots to the chest. And why did they have it? Why in San Francisco? Why didn't they have a taser? I'm tired of looking at these snuff films. I'm tired of it. And a lot of times, you know, there's no repercussion. I mean, why did Rahm and those guys decide to hold that tape for over a year?
Do you have a good answer?
What?
What do you think?
Is he being asked that question?
He's been asked.
What did he say?
And his answer has been that they were following procedure.
Well, okay, that might be true. That's why the feds are there then. If that's the answer, that's why the feds are there.
Have you shown
going
him
from top to bottom.
Speaking of Rahm Emanuel, have you shown him the movie?
He was invited to the premiere, but he was in China. He got back the night of the premiere after it was over. If he wants, I'll give him a DVD. But look, his brother runs a big agency, so we're sending out the film for the screener.
He's got plenty of ways to watch it, is what you're saying.
He might have seen it already. You know what? He might have seen the film before the premiere and I don't even know about it.
What about President Obama? Here's a guy who lived in the south side of Chicago. A lot of his conservative critics, whenever he would speak out about a mass shooting, they come back with, what about Chicago? What about Chicago? Is there a role he can play in this? And if so, what is it?
You know what? You got to ask him that the next time.
Would you like him to play more of a role in this?
I want anybody that can do anything to help people being murdered anywhere in the United States of America, not just Chicago. Again, I know I sound like a broken record. 88 Americans die every day due to gun violence, and not just in the hoods of America.
You were talking about the issue of glorification, or we were talking about it earlier. What's the role of entertainment, the media?
Make money.
Role models.
Make money.
And not to, but do we have a role in not glorifying gun violence? Best-selling video games usually have to do with
shoot 'em up, bang, bang.
Yeah. Do you think that contributes to the numbness culture?
It's not the video games, it's a culmination.
That's what I mean.
Oh, yes.
It's all of it.
Look, we're the most violent country on the planet. I mean, can you argue against that?
Not right now.
Huh?
Not right now.
Not right now. It's been like that for a minute. That didn't happen overnight. And how many guns are in this country? What, 200 million or something like that?
I think it's getting, one stat was there are more guns than people.
More?
We're not quite there. I don't think we're quite there. We probably need to fact check
We're
that.
on the brink, though.
Yeah.
We're at the brink where there are more guns in America than American citizens.
Final question.
Yes. One day, the Knicks win the championship.
Yeah, no, that. Do you think 1990 Spike Lee would have made this same movie? Is there anything? How have you changed? How have you changed? How have you evolved as sort of a political documentarian?
I would say my women characters are much stronger than I was before I got married. I have a brilliant wife, love of my life, Tanya. Went Sarah Lawrence UVA Law School, so she has really made me think about having more dimensional women characters in my film. I think that's the biggest difference, evidenced by this film, with the characters played by Tiana, Angela Bassett, and Jennifer Hudson. Strong, strong women.
And it's the men that are weak and making all the mistakes.
Yep. And can I just say one thing?
Yes, sir.
I'm getting this, you know, not just the guy, but this is not the first time people said that this film reduces women's power to sexuality. I'd just like to say, is there a woman here or listening tonight who got mad at her boyfriend or husband and they had to sleep on the couch for, like, that's never happened before?
So what you're saying, this is a reality?
I'm speaking from experience. Okay. I bet if you're a red-blooded American male, everybody can attest to that, where you had to, like, it was shut down. Till you came correct. You had to be nice, flowers, candy, whatever. But
what you're saying is you believe that sexual power is a way for behavioral correctness.
I'm not saying in its entirety, but in interpersonal relationships, I can attest to that.
All right.
Can you attest to that?
I don't know what I want to admit on air, but fair enough.
Yes.
But fair enough.
That's a yes.
Spike Lee, I'm going to leave it there.
My man, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You got it. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.